Imagine if you could bring anything you truly desire into reality, not by struggling, hoping for luck, or repeating endless affirmations, but by using a divine pattern that Jesus himself revealed. It's not some secret spell or mystery. It's a clear and simple code made of just 3 words. These 3 words carry the essence of how creation itself works. They're not just nice phrases or religious poetry. They describe how life responds when you align your heart, your faith, and your actions with divine order. Once you understand these words, you stop seeing your desires as random wishes. You start seeing creation as a process, something you can consciously repeat again and again. This message is about decoding the 3-word code Jesus gave, the one that explains how prayers are answered and miracles become real. It's the pattern behind every dream that came true, every obstacle that disappeared, every blessing that suddenly showed up. Maybe you've prayed before and wondered why some things happen easily while others never seem to change. This could be the key that connects it all. It all begins in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 7. That day, Jesus was standing on a hillside, giving what we now call the Sermon on the Mount. The people had been there for hours, tired yet filled with hope. Jesus had just spoken about prayer, about trusting God, and about how the Father already knows your needs before you even say them out loud. Then, for a moment, everything became still. The crowd grew silent. You could almost feel the air pause, as if something sacred was about to be spoken. Then Jesus said something that sounded so simple, most people probably missed it. It was one short line, but within it lay the entire structure of creation itself. Many thought he was simply teaching how to pray, but he wasn't just giving advice. He was revealing how heaven responds to human intention. Most people pray with sincerity, but they don't follow the order he described. That's why they often feel unheard. Jesus was showing the divine sequence of how thought becomes reality, how faith moves from invisible to visible form. His words were, "Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened to you." He continued, saying that everyone who asks receives, everyone who seeks finds, and to everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. These 3 words, ask, seek, knock, are not random. They describe a law of creation that operates for everyone. Hidden in those 3 steps is the process that every answered prayer follows. Every breakthrough, every miracle, every blessing that ever became real flows through this pattern. Jesus wasn't just trying to comfort people that day. He was giving them the mechanics of creation. These are the steps that connect your inner belief to outer results. If you really understand what's inside these 3 moves, you'll realize what you might have been missing all along. You've probably asked for many things before. Maybe you've even sought for answers or knocked on a few doors. But the secret isn't just doing these things randomly. It's doing them in the right sequence, with the right understanding. The first word is ask. The original Greek word used in the Bible is aitio, which means to make a rightful request, to claim something that belongs to you by spiritual law. When Jesus said ask, he was not telling you to beg or plead. He was saying that the first step in creation is to define clearly what you desire. To ask means to draw a line in the invisible and say, "This is what I choose." Until you define it, heaven has nothing to respond to. In Genesis, God didn't say, "I wish there was light." He said, "Let there be light." That's what asking looks like. It's not about hoping. It's about declaring. James 4:2 reminds us, "You have not because you ask not." It's not that God refuses. It's that nothing has been clearly defined. And Jesus added another layer in John 14:13 when he said, "Whatever you ask in my name, that will I do." In Hebrew thought, a name represents nature or character. So to ask in his name means to ask from the awareness of divine nature, not as a desperate person, but as someone who shares in God's power and inheritance. The moment you clearly define what you desire, it exists in spiritual seed form. The blueprint is drawn. The next step is seek. This comes from the Greek word zetio, which means to search out, to investigate, to look deeply until understanding comes. Seeking isn't about running around trying to find something you lost. It's about discovering what's already there, but hidden from view. Proverbs 25:2 says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter, and the glory of kings to search it out." Seeking is the process of discovery. It's how your mind and heart start to align with what you've asked for. When you seek, you begin to notice patterns, signs, and clues that point toward your answer. Maybe it shows up as an idea, an opportunity, or even a new perspective. Most people pray once and then wait for lightning to strike. But seekers stay aware. They keep looking until they see evidence of what they believe. In Hebrew, seeking is described as walking a path again and again. Every time you think, act, and speak from the reality you desire, you're walking that inner path, carving it deeper into your soul until it feels natural. That's how understanding replaces doubt. Then comes the third step, knock. In Greek, this word is kruo, which means to keep tapping with steady persistence until entry is granted. Knocking isn't about force. It's about consistent, faithful action. In the Bible, doors often represent transitions or new levels of purpose. When you knock, you are acting on what you have already asked for and sought out. You are stepping toward your desire as if it's already open. Jesus gave a story in Luke 11 about a man who knocked on his friend's door in the middle of the night asking for bread. Even though the friend was asleep, he eventually got up and gave him what he needed because of the man's persistence. That's what knocking means. It's about staying in motion until the door opens, not out of desperation, but out of faith that the promise is real. Every time you take a step forward without seeing the result yet, you're knocking. Every time you choose faith over fear, you're knocking. When these three steps, asking, seeking, and knocking, align, the door has no choice but to open. This isn't just philosophy or inspiration. It's how creation works. The pattern is always the same. Definition, discovery, and activation. Asking defines what you desire. Seeking discovers its path. Knocking activates it through action. When all three connect, the unseen becomes visible. If something you've prayed for hasn't shown up yet, it doesn't mean heaven said no. It simply means the sequence is incomplete. Maybe your asking was unclear. Maybe you stopped seeking too early. Maybe you knocked once and then gave up. But once you complete the process, the outcome must appear because divine law always fulfills itself. Let's take an example. Imagine the door you're standing before is called financial abundance. First, you ask. You define it with clarity, not as a wish, but as a rightful claim. You say, I am a vessel of abundance. I always have enough to give, to grow, and to live freely. That definition creates the spiritual blueprint. Heaven now has coordinates to work with. Next, you seek. You start to notice ways in which provision already exists around you. You begin to see opportunities that were invisible before, a skill you can use, a person who mentions an idea, a small door that could lead to more. You're not chasing a miracle. You're discovering how the answer is already forming. Finally, you knock. You take inspired action. You make the call, send the proposal, start the project, or plant the seed. You do it not to prove yourself, but to activate what's already been promised. Every time you act in faith, you're knocking on the door of manifestation. And then, by design, the door opens. Not as a reward, but as a natural response. That's how the process works. Definition, discovery, activation. It's the rhythm of creation itself, the same pattern that shaped the universe. God spoke the word, light appeared, and form followed. So when you align your thoughts, your understanding, and your actions in the same way, creation follows your lead. If your life feels stuck, go back and check where the sequence might have paused. Have you truly defined what you desire? Have you sought its pattern with awareness? Have you kept knocking through faith and persistence? because once those 3 steps are in harmony, the result must appear. This is why Jesus said, "Everyone who asks receives, everyone who seeks finds, and everyone who knocks, to them the door will be opened." It's not that God randomly decides who gets blessed. It's that once the process is complete, manifestation is automatic. When your definition, your discovery, and your activation line up, the door cannot remain closed. So, if this message has stirred something inside you, let it be your reminder that the power to create is already within you. The same divine code that Jesus spoke is still active today. The door is open the moment you align your heart, your belief, and your action with truth. You don't have to force it. You simply need to complete the pattern. Ask clearly, seek faithfully, knock persistently. Then watch how the unseen becomes real right before your eyes.